Today on the podcast, we are talking about how to overcome technophobia. Now, if you've never heard of technophobia, it is a word coined by my guest, Tracy Sheehan, who is the digital guide. This is such a great episode, all about digital marketing, where to start, and what you can let go of when it comes to digital marketing. If you want to know more, you can go to the show notes for this episode at socialmediaandmarketing.com.au/149. Otherwise, listen in. Hey, welcome to the Small Business Made Simple podcast, brought to you by socialmediaandmarketing.com.au. Being in business is never easy, but it can be simple, or at least simpler. Join me, your host Jen Donovan, every week where we focus on marketing, social media, and working towards simplifying your business. You with me? Let's do this.
Gonna dream it big, 'cause someone out there listening. Everyone's got a voice to give, and it's time I heard you whistling, 'cause there's no point at all, in dreaming small.
Why, hey there, welcome to episode 149 of the Small Business Made Simple podcast. Thank you, as always, and every week for lending me your ears today. I know there's lots of choices out there, and I really do appreciate you making my podcast one of them. If you're a first-time listener, then super welcome to you. Otherwise, welcome back. I'm so happy to have you here. I am, of course, the host, Jen Donovan, and it's my job via this podcast, social media, and everywhere else that I hang out to make your business life simpler, because I know that business can be hard and it can be, overwhelming, but the Small Business Made Simple podcast is all about making your life or your business life a little bit simpler. This week, I have an amazing guest. Her name is Tracy Sheehan, and she has the Digital Guide. Tracy helps small businesses overcome technophobia. I love that word, and I love hearing her explain what technophobia is on the interview. She's a consultant, a presenter, an MC, and a writer, and she has absolute gold for you today, especially if the digital BS is something that you find really hard to navigate in the world that we live in right now. If you're a master of digital or struggling, then this episode is definitely for you. So go and grab a cuppa and settle into the fabulous chat I get to have with Tracy Sheehan. Trace, I'm really excited to have you on the podcast today because you are going to cut through some BS around technology for us. And I think that's something my small business audience will be definitely leaning into. So welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Jen. I'm very excited. I love the Tiffany blue of your wall, can I just say?
Yeah, it keeps me inspired. I want to be able to shop at Tiffany's every day of the week one day or something ridiculous like that.
Pay $2,500 for a paperclip.
Yeah, that's it for sure. To go on my gold scented paper for sure.
Excellent.
Trace, for my audience that perhaps don't know you, can you tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do to set the scene around today's podcast?
Yeah, sure. So my name is Tracy Sheehan. I'm known as the Digital Guide. I help small business owners conquer their overwhelm around technology. So whether that's, productivity, marketing, whatever it is, we work through it. And like Jen said, cut through the BS to help people embrace their inner geek.
Embrace that inner geek. One thing that you said to me, which I thought was really quite insightful just before we press record, was that a lot of the people you deal with, and probably a lot of the people that I deal with in business, actually had technology happen to us. We didn't grow up with technology. It actually is happening, and it still is. It's happening around us and evolving every day. So can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah. So look, let's throw some stats out, right? So according to the ABS, there's 2.1 million small business owners in Australia. 63% of this are aged over 45. Now, if we break that down into regionals, 802,000 regional businesses just in Queensland. So if we look at that, 63% of those people are going to be over 45. So it's really only about 8% of the entire small business population that's 30 or under. So when you look at those numbers, you realize that the vast majority of business being done in Australia is being done by the Gen Xers. Shout out to my Breakfast Club peeps. It's we're the ones pulling the weight of the economy. And the problem is that, as I see it, because I've had to overcome it too, we can still program a VCR.
Yeah.
We can still program a fax machine, but all of this new tech that's coming out week upon week upon week upon week upon week just weighs us down and adds to this overwhelm of where do I start, what do I need, and how do I do it? And there's no basic, here's where you start, here's what you need to know, and here's what you can let go. Because most of the stuff I see available in the marketplace is aimed as though people already know what you're talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, the sentence of, knowing what you can let go is really, really important as well. That, we don't need to be on every platform. We don't need to know everything there is to know about everything, but we need to know a little bit, and we need to know a little bit so we don't get caught, and so that we do actually understand technology a little bit as well, don't we?
Absolutely. I mean, my hubby always says to me, I don't know how to play a violin, but I know when one's played well.
Yeah.
And that kind of sums it up for me for tech. You don't need to know how to do it, but you need to know when it's done well. So then if you want to outsource, we just had a conversation about SEO.
Yeah.
If you want to outsource your SEO, if you want to outsource a web design, if you want to get someone to work on your social media, you don't have to do it, but you need to know how to have the conversation with someone so you're not going to get ripped off, and you know that they're giving you best value for money, and you know how to call them on the BS. So if they're sending you a report that's actually telling you nothing, you can go, hang on, buddy. What about this? What does that look like? What's my, return on investment for this? You've got some phrases you can throw back at them so they know that you're not going to be taken for a ride.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, we've known for a long time that education is key, and it's no different to online education to offline education.
Absolutely.
But also there is so much education out there. Like, you could type anything into Pinterest or, maybe a search engine like YouTube or even Google, and you will get a billion answers to your questions. So where do you start?
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting question, Jen, because a lot of the people that I speak to and have spoken to over the last, good grief, I've been doing this since 1990, right? So Moses was still playing fullback for the Wallabies. But there's two camps. I still speak to a lot of people that, don't know how to jump on Zoom or don't know how to search on YouTube. So there's still a big portion of people that aren't even comfortable to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So, there's a certain amount of, we've got to take a step back and say you can't solve a digital literacy problem. And I'm not saying, like illiterate or anything, a digital literacy problem, like upskilling and things. You can't solve a digital literacy problem with a digital solution entirely.
Mm-hmm.
There needs to be some old school face-to-face books, materials that people are comfortable with to allow themselves to get to a point where they can then go and search YouTube or Pinterest or Google or wherever they want to go to. So there's two real camps of those people that aren't even comfortable to get there yet versus the ones that are trying to wade through the myriad of BS on the internet to get to the gold. And it depends which one you want to talk about, I guess, as to which way we take that conversation. But how do you find people you can trust? Your vibe attracts your tribe, in my opinion. So, the people that listen to you have developed that know, like, and trust with Jen, quite rightly so, because you don't feed them BS, you give them the good stuff. And if you don't know, you don't know. And you say, I don't know, I'm going to find out, or I'm going to bring someone in that can help you with that. So then that expands their network a little bit. So then, Jen's kind of said, hey, I'm chatting with Tracy today. She must be okay. So, then your tribe goes, oh, okay, well, maybe Tracy's okay to follow now as well. Yeah, and I think that's how, the logical spread of information, or good information for me, works. Because and the thing that scares me, and you'd see it more than most people, Jen, is it seems like anyone can do a $9 social media course online and then hang a shingle out in front of their door and say, I'm now a social media marketing expert. So it's being able to disseminate that level of information and how much you want it. Do you want to go with someone who's done a $9 course, or do you want to go with someone who's been doing this since Moses played fullback for the Wallabies?
Or somewhere in between.
Yeah, and there's pros and cons to both.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know, in past experiences, people have, like with their social media, for instance, have said, oh, look, they might run a really successful offline business and they've had to go online, and they've gone, oh, look, I'll just get my nephew or my niece to run my social media because, they're so up to date with everything on social, which is probably quite true, except for when you're trying to run a business on social. So knowing the platforms and seeing these people text at a million miles now, which I cannot do, and be all on over the platforms and that sort of thing, it still doesn't, necessarily relate directly to running a business successfully online.
Yeah, absolutely. Get your nephew to show you how the platform works. And then, you know your business better than anyone. You know what your brand voice is like. You know what your audience is looking for. That's going to translate the chances of your nephew being able to communicate with your audience. If you're a 40-something person designing, I don't know, bush art or something, the chances of your nephew being able to connect with people that are looking to buy metal sculptures is probably a lot smaller than you being able to tell the story of how you developed all that. But if they can teach you how to use the platform, my God, milk that family connection for all it's worth, I say.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. But yes, there is, I find that that's a bit of a trap that people fall into, is they don't necessarily see the difference between knowing the platform and knowing how to run a business on the platform.
Yeah. And we see it with web design too. You'd see that all the time. Yeah. Oh, my I have one the other day. My son's studying IT at uni, so he's going to create a website for me.
Yeah.
Okay, great. And his experience with small business is okay.
Yeah. And we all have to start somewhere. And if that's where you have to start, that's okay. But it's realizing that there will be some pitfalls in that. And there is a reason why we pay $4,000 and $5,000 and $6,000 for a really good converting website, because that's what your website needs to do. It needs to convert people from passive watchers into passive income streams, hopefully, fingers crossed.
Yeah.
And I also think that one of the traps people fall into is looking comparisonitis.
It's not a Zoom call if your cat doesn't stick its bum in the camera, is it? For everyone listening on the audio call, I just realized it's a podcast, not a video thing. My cat just wandered across screen and stuck his bum in the camera for Jen to see. So happy listening, everyone.
Yeah, it was definitely what you need to see on a Friday afternoon, is the cat's bum. But anyway.
Exactly. Sorry, I got distracted there.
No, you're right. I was just saying that people, get comparisonitis as well. So they see people doing great things online and they think they are so far behind the 8 ball. But the reality is really quite different. Like just this morning, I've set up an email address for one of my clients. It's been about 2 years since I set up an email address. Like I literally had to click through the buttons and and change the pop and change the IMAP, and that didn't work. So we'll go back and we'll do that again. But from the outside looking in, you would think that someone like me might know that stuff off by heart, but it's not the reality. A lot of people out there are using technology and are just learning as they go.
Yeah. Well, what's the old saying? To a third grader, fourth grader's God. So I think, and the other thing with that, with technology, and when you're talking about marketing, is this blanket term of marketing. But you and I both know that within that marketing umbrella, all of the spokes are so different and are constantly updated. So if you live in the world of SEO, the chances of you being good at running a Facebook ad as well is pretty slim. And if you're good at doing Facebook ads, the chances of you being good at designing a website are pretty slim, because Facebook ads are being updated, every other day of the week. SEO is being updated every other day of the week. There's new algorithms coming in. You can't be across everything and be superb at everything, which is why, some of the conversations I had with people was, why can't I just find one person to do this? Well, you can, but they'll probably be average at everything.
Yeah.
Unless they have a team of contractors that are specialists in SEO and specialists in Facebook ads and specialists in content writing and specialists in graphics, because there are so many different avenues that fall under the marketing banner now, that you need to kind of go, you know what? I like SEO. I'm going to specialize in that. And down that path you go, because you can't keep pulling yourself back up and trying to figure out what's going on in the other areas of marketing and maintain your eye on the ball about that one thing.
Yeah, you are so right. So incredibly right. Now, you are so much into this technophobia that you've actually written a book about technophobia. Tell us how that came about, and tell us a bit more about that book.
So the book is called The End of Technophobia, a practical guide to digitizing your business. And it came about because, well, like a lot of people, COVID hit. I was running a digital marketing agency, and within 2 weeks of COVID hitting, I'd lost every single client. And I kind of went, okay, hello, 2020. All right, what have we got in store here? So I took that opportunity to kind of sit back and look, I'm going to use the word, we haven't heard it a lot in 2021, to pivot.
I think it's a good word. I like it. I don't know what people's objections are to it.
Pivot. So I kind of looked at all this stuff that I had been doing and went, well, I haven't really been enjoying that for a while, so let's get rid of that. What was I left with? And what I was really left with was, I really love to train people and I really love writing. And I went, okay. So I sat down with my mentor and he went, well, it's time to write the book. So like I said, I've been doing this since 1990. I got in when mobile phones were, 2 years old, 3 years old in Australia, and I've been doing this stuff ever since. So it's, for me, my whole career has been small business marketing, small business sales, and small business tech. That's been it. From everything from copywriting to radio announcing to interviewing to event management to, you name it. I was a millennial before millennials were cool. I used to jump about so much. So I kind of went, okay, well, what am I seeing with my clients? And I was partnered with the federal government to deliver a project called ASPAS, which you and a lot of the listeners would have heard of, Australian Small Business Advisory Service. And over the time that I was a contractor with them, I'd spoken to over 400 business owners, and I kept hearing the same thing. I'm overwhelmed. I don't know where to start. I've been burnt by marketers. I've been burnt by, different things. What do I need to be using? What don't I need to be using? And I went, you know what? I'm just going to sit down and write the book. So I literally pretty well interviewed my 400 odd people, plus councils, plus state development, plus a bunch of other people, and went, what do small business owners need to know now? And then broke the book into sections. So productivity, marketing, sales, health and well-being, customer experience, working remotely. I think there's like 13 sections in the book, and just wrote about it. And then realizing that my people are over 40, I went, well, what worked well were the old dummies guides. Do you remember the old dummies guide to Excel or dummies guides or whatever? And the thing that worked well about the dummies guides were the screenshots. So I went, all right, let's throw a bunch of screenshots in here so someone can literally open the book up to, I don't know, Facebook Insights and go, oh, this is the screenshot. Hey, that's what my screen says. So now what does that mean? What does that mean? What does that mean? Why do I need to know it? So I spent 6 months, 8 months writing the book, 84,000 words. I counted every single one of them and came out with the book. So the book launched International Women's Day this year, 8th of March.
Wow.
I was mid 36-hour Clubhouse call. I did the world's first online International Women's Day event. So we had 55 speakers, 20 plus countries. I was in the middle of that. The truck's reversing down my driveway, beeping while I've got someone on Clubhouse that I'm trying to monitor from Canada or something, I think. And my hubby walked in with the book and went, and I went, I don't have time right now. And the book kind of sat there. And then at the end of the 36 hours after I'd woken up again, I kind of went, holy crap, I've got a book. So, so it officially launched at the Brisbane Convention Centre on the 27th of May as part of Brisbane, Queensland Small Business Week. And it's been going great feedback.
Beautiful.
Getting lots of people burst into tears on me, and not because of my poor writing style, just like, oh my God, I've been so overwhelmed and now there's a book. So lovely kind of stuff. And it's doing what I wanted it to do, to go out and help people.
Yeah, beautiful. So for anybody in my audience right now who is having a tech overwhelm, who just, that is where they live whenever they sit down to try and do something to do with technology, can you give me like maybe 3 tips, 1 tip, something that can help them move forward?
Yeah. First of all, don't call yourself a tech numpty. I hear that so many times.
I've never heard of that. There you go.
I'm a Luddite. I'm a whatever. Cut yourself some slack. Everybody I speak to is exceptionally good at what they do. They're exceptionally good as a florist, as a hairdresser, as a plumber, as a whatever. They're exceptionally good at that. And like I said, this stuff's happened to them. So no wonder they're overwhelmed. So first of all, cut yourself some slack. Second of all, do a bit of an audit. So by that, I mean, go through and have a look at what you've got in your business now. So how are you using it? Is it a laptop and a phone? Is it a desktop and a phone? What have you got? How does your business operate? Has it changed during COVID? Are you online? Do you still go and see people? What does that look like? And then sit down and be honest with yourself about what's the one area of your business that needs to improve. So we all have one, and it all sits in our gut, and we all kind of, as soon as that question comes up, everyone goes, oh, it's marketing, or it's I need. It'll come down to more time, more money, more leads. Typically, that's the 3 things that I hear over and over again. I need more time back, I need more leads, or I need more money. So once you've identified which area it is, then you can do something about it. But what I see is people try and fix everything at once. Oh my God, no wonder you're overwhelmed. Like it's like when you try and clean your house, you don't mostly go flick from one room to the other doing like one piece in this room. You'll concentrate on a room. If you're giving it a decent spring clean, you'll go, okay, today I'm going to do my wardrobe, and that's all you'll do. So do that. Pick one thing. Oh, okay, I need to learn Facebook more. I know I need to learn Facebook more because I'm not posting to it very often, and everybody says I should post to it more often. Cool. Learn Facebook. Go and jump onto Facebook Blueprint or Contact Jen, or, find a book or do something. Facebook Blueprint is the online learning developed by Facebook, but just pick one thing and block out 30 minutes in your calendar a week to learn it and do it.
Yeah.
So don't just learn it, do it as you're learning it, because the best way that you're going to overcome your technophobia is to actually implement at the same time. So don't go off and do a big mammoth course and then think, I've got to wait till this is all done. No. Prolific beats perfect. Get in there, learn something, go, okay, I'm going to do that now. So maybe you learn how to schedule a post. While you've just learned that, go and schedule a post.
Yeah.
Maybe it's scheduling the post to go, hey, I just learned how to schedule a post. Whatever you need to do, but do those little incremental steps and build it into your calendar. So you're starting to build in a learning and development into your business. It's no different to working on your business in any other way, like reading a good business book or listening to Jen's podcast, or it's no different.
Yeah.
We just need to tackle these things in small chunks, small manageable chunks. And then, know where we're starting. So know your baseline. Okay, I don't know Facebook. I don't know how to schedule a post. And then look back in 3 months' time and go, hey, I've been scheduling a post every week for the last 3 months. Yay me.
Yeah.
Now what?
Yeah, no, it makes so much logical sense, really. And it's kind of like, you wouldn't go and read a book to learn how to ride a bike. you would go and start trying to ride a bike. You might have a couple of, pointers, but you have to do the doing to learn the task.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And the other thing I think that overwhelms people, that you kind of touched on a little bit, is everybody says. Everybody
Mm.
says I should be on Instagram, or everyone says I should be on Facebook, or everyone says I should be on Clubhouse. It's the place to be. But I think that's what overwhelms people as well. So it's kind of,
Mm.
for me, I talk about, restrict who you listen to as well, who you take
Mm.
advice from, because it's like a
Right.
pregnant woman in an elevator. Everybody's got advice for her. And, she needs to take what she wants and leaves the rest, which is very similar, of course, to small business.
Yeah. And beware the survey of one on the other flip of the coin. We often as small business owners get one person, like a client or someone that'll come back and go, oh, I saw that post where you talked about this, or, you start selling something. Oh, you shouldn't do that. And we go, oh my God, I've just offended my client base. No.
Mm.
Beware the survey of one. If a few people, if 5 of your ideal clients come and go, hey, Jen, that post was a little off this week. What did you mean by that? Then take a look at it. If it's one person, let it through to the keeper. But you're right. Surround yourself with the right people. If you're going to take advice from everyone, in the air quotes, make sure they're your ideal clients, or make sure they're people who have gone there and done it before you and have built the same type of business that you're trying to build.
Yeah. Yeah. And the other thing I find is people sometimes are a little bit standoffish, because, let's take Instagram, for instance. It's a little bit harder to learn. It's a little bit more complicated than Facebook. And people are like, oh, I don't get it, so I'm not going there. But when you dig into it, that's where their ideal client is. So also recognizing, when you choose that one thing, it has to be the one thing that is all about your client, not just about you.
Absolutely. It's a really common one, isn't it? As people go, I can't stand Instagram, so I'm not going to be on it. I'm not going to do it. It's like, oh, that's great. But where are your clients hanging out? Oh, Instagram. Okay. Where's the logic there? I mean, I'm not an Instagram fan. So me going and posting on Instagram, I was looking at my insights yesterday, my Facebook stats were up for the month and my Instagram was down like 40%. And I went, yep, forgot to post last month. So, take it on the chin. But if your people are there, then get over it. It's not about you. It's about your people.
Yeah. Yeah. And I guess one of the other points that I just sort of wanted to talk a little bit, Trace, was just sort of, outsourcing can be a great idea, like if you are overwhelmed, but there's a few steps we should take before we outsource.
So I'm the master at delegating tasks. I think the biggest thing, and Jen, you would have seen it, is people often look for a unicorn.
Yeah.
So, I'll be chatting with them and they'll say, oh, I can't wait till I get my VA. And you're like, okay, well, what do you think? What do you want the VA to do? Oh, well, I want them to create the graphics for my socials and to post and maybe write a blog and send my emails out. And, they've got this laundry list of to-do things, when in actual fact, it's probably 3 people they need. They need a graphic designer, they need a general VA that can do the scheduling of content, and they need a copywriter or a content writer, or, something like that, or a funnel builder or something. So it's breaking those tasks down. And I'm a big fan of sticky notes.
Mm-hmm.
So, when you're starting to think things through, I've still got a big thing on my wall at the moment, is I have different colors for different things. So I'll put my overarching theme above it. So admin, will be a green sticky note, and everything I think about for admin, reply to emails. So I'll write individual sticky notes for everything I can think of for admin. Everything I can think of for marketing, everything I can think of for whatever. And then I'll say to people, now figure out the things you want to outsource and move those things onto a different wall. And then ask yourself, is that really something that one person can do and do well, or are you setting them up for failure? Mm-hmm. So that's probably the biggest one, is to just identify that, we get so used to, as a small business owner, of, keeping all of these spinning plates in the air. And we jump from sending an email to shooting an invoice out to responding to a supplier to putting a post on social media. But we're a weird breed. small business owners, to be able to do that is actually really difficult. So you're setting your VA up for failure if you're looking for that one mystical unicorn feature. So pick the big thing that is going to give you your time back and probably go for them first. The other thing that I would say to that is, if I'm finding a VA for a client, I will say to them, pick one task and put it out to 3 or 4 VAs.
Mm-hmm.
And then see, how quickly do they respond? What's the quality of the work? What's the communication been like? And do that for a couple of tasks until you can narrow it down to 1 or 2 people that you can make your decision with. Because you don't know what you don't know when you're starting out. So you kind of need to, it's like when you're dating, you need to play the field a little bit first, kind of get a sense of what's out there, and then narrow it down to who would you bring home to meet the folks.
Yeah, well, that's a great analogy. I love all your analogies. They're very good. They make a lot of world sense, don't they? And I guess, just adding to that a little bit is, back to that learning of things. Like we spoke early on about, how people, they'll outsource Facebook ads, but they have no idea how to do a Facebook ad themselves.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
or SEO, and we that's how I guess we can end up paying for services that don't actually give us a return on our investment, or of course that's how we get ripped off. So sometimes it's good to at least know something before you start outsourcing that thing.
Absolutely. And don't automatically, another big one for me is don't automatically jump to running Facebook ads, for example. Make sure your content's solid first. What can you be doing organically before you're running to pay for stuff? So is there a way that you can be changing up what you post so you're starting to get more likes and more engagement? Because your ads are going to work better if your organic stuff's working better. So, I'm all about milking what we can do for free first organically before we go paying for stuff. The other big thing, Jen, and I think we talked about this earlier, is make sure you got solid policies and procedures in place. I mean, that stuff's as boring as batshit, but if you don't have it, you are in for a world of hurt when you start adding VAs and things to your team. And it doesn't have to be, copious amounts of documents. You could just do a quick open up Zoom and record, like, okay, this is the way that I schedule my posts. And then the first task you give the VA is to write that up as a procedure. It doesn't have to be bound and formatted in gold leaf for them, but they're not mind readers. You at least need to go to the VA with, this is how we do things around here, and give them the opportunity to write that up as a process themselves, unless it's something completely out of the box, like a Facebook ad or something like that, where you're really seeking an expert's advice.
Yeah. This has been such a great conversation. There is so much gold in here, and hopefully anyone who has been feeling a little bit overwhelmed. And I think we all get overwhelmed sometimes with the amount of tasks and also tech that we have to do, no matter how highly skilled or lowly skilled we think we are. So thank you so much for sharing all these insights. Is there anything we haven't touched on yet that you just wanted to talk about before we wrap up?
Look, so much, Jen. I think you need to go and get a coffee and we'll just keep going. Maybe a wine. It's Friday afternoon. No, look, I mean, the big thing for me is, don't make it hard on yourself. Really just cut yourself some slack. The fact that you're listening to this and you're looking for answers to things, give yourself some credit for that. Yeah. That's that you are trying to cut through the overwhelm. So you're looking for ways. So just take the whole weight of the world off your shoulders and just pick one thing. Give yourself a chance to succeed. Pick one thing, implement it, move on, next thing. And you'll find that it just starts, it's a domino effect. If you pick one thing, and then the next thing, and then the next thing, before you know it, it's like this domino effect that suddenly you go, hang on a minute, I've got an extra hour back in my week because I'm not doing this stuff that all these manual processes that I was before, or I'm not, doing this, or I'm not doing that. So just stick with it. Expect when you're starting, it is going to take more time because you're learning, so you can't kind of walk into something and go, I'm going to teach myself Facebook ads and I've got a spare 30 minutes.
Yeah.
it is going to take more time, but only when you're learning, and at the end of the day, you're doing all of this stuff because you want more time, more money, more leads. So it will lead to it. Just, allow yourself that wiggle room to learn, implement, try, and seek out good people. You're listening to Jen's podcast, so you've got the best of the best around you already, but seek out good people that are genuine, and there's still a lot around there.
Yeah, absolutely. And the only one thing I would add to that is celebrate the small stuff. Us small business
Amen.
owners, we just seem to think, oh, I'll celebrate when I do this big, enormous thing or something like that. But sometimes just, getting the Facebook ad actually up and running and, getting some, I don't know, some return off it is worth celebrating, or, scheduling that very first post that you're doing. Give yourself a high five, celebrate the small stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Don't give yourself a high five though, because that could hurt. So maybe a cupcake or a cup of tea, or I'm probably food-based rewards, which again says more about me than you need to know. But yes,
do a happy dance.
Post on come and visit me on Facebook or on Jen's Facebook page and post a win there, and let us help you celebrate the success.
Yeah,
because you need to have a team around you that helps you celebrate and keeps you going.
Yeah, absolutely. Tracy, this has been so good. Thank you so much for giving up some of your Friday afternoon to come and have a chat with us. For those in my audience listening, how can they get in contact with you, or where's the best place to find you hanging out?
Yeah, gosh, so many ways. Being the digital guide, you'd hope I'm kind of everywhere. So if you search Tracy Sheen, the Digital Guide on Facebook, the website's thedigitalguide.com.au. The book is The End of Technophobia. It's on the website. I also have a small business tech club, which is a month-to-month club where we upskill around core competencies of the business. Just Google me, you'll find me. I'm kind of everywhere. Tracy Sheen, the Digital Guide. No relation to Charlie Sheen. So just be careful when you're looking at the images. Could get a little confusing.
Of course. Anyway.
Winning. #winning.
Yeah. I will, of course, have all those links in the show notes. So, don't stress about that, guys. But yes, sounds like if you just go to Google and type it in, then you will find it. But again, thank you so much for giving up your time. It's been a great conversation and I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Jen.
I really hope you enjoyed that episode. Isn't she amazing? I just felt like I was talking to, a sister from another mother. It was just such an incredible interview. I absolutely loved it. And if you're listening in real time, so this is actually going live in mid-September 2021, Tracy and I are actually running some Clubhouse rooms together where we're going to talk marketing and digital marketing on Mondays from 12 noon Australian Eastern Standard Time. So if you're on Clubhouse, we would love to see you there Mondays at noon. If you're not on Clubhouse, think about joining up. But I don't want to overwhelm you with something else you need to do. But Clubhouse just could be the place for you to hang out and meet some amazing people and do some amazing collaborations and, extend your network maybe. Anyway, Trace and I will be there Mondays for about 6 weeks at 12 noon. It's a test and measure exercise, just like all good marketers do. Otherwise, come and join my Like-Minded Business Owners Facebook group. And if you have any insights or any questions around digital marketing, or if Tracy brought up anything for you that you would like to ask even more, tag her in the Like-Minded Business Owners group. She will answer your questions. Otherwise, ask your questions and I'm sure the group would be more than happy to help you. If you're not a member of the group, then come and join. Just go to Facebook and search Like-Minded Business Owners. Of course, if you want to book a discovery call with me and get your marketing strategy down pat, especially heading into the end of 2021, then, come over and do that. You will find the link in the show notes at socialmediamarketing.com.au/149. Otherwise, head to my website and it's right there on the front page. But that's it for episode 149. I really hope you're enjoying this podcast. And if you listened this far, I know that you probably have. I'd love you to hit the subscribe button and leave a rating and a review if you have an extra 10 seconds of your day. And of course, share this episode with another superstar business owner who's doing that daily grind, who would really appreciate hearing Tracy's wisdom all around digital marketing. Massive love going your way, of course, if you do any of those things. But I will be back next week for episode 150. In the meantime, are we on social? I really hope that we are. You can find me on Instagram at @JenDonovan_, on Facebook. Come and join the Like-Minded Business Owners group. And of course, on LinkedIn. I really like to hang out on LinkedIn. So if you're a LinkedIn person, you're my type of person. But whatever you do, remember, my small business peeps, as my opening song says, there is no point in dreaming small.
No time like the present. Tell it like you feel it, say it proud, be true, and let us see you for the star that you are. No point in dreaming small.
I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land, the Yorta Yorta people, on which I record this podcast and conduct my business today, and pay my respects to their elders, past and present. I extend this respect to the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people here with us today as well.